Good morning, it's Shanna. Today we're going to put together a spread in my journal, my tarot journal slash grimoire slash all the things. If you've watched my channel before, I've mentioned that my journal is it's a happy planner, and B, I use it for all of the above, journal, grimoire, book of shadows, which I know is not conventional. Some people don't even necessarily recommend it. I've heard people saying like you have to have them separate. But if I do that, I don't do any of them. So I have opted to have everything in here. This is January through June. Is that in focus? Yeah. January through June. Here in another week, I will take all of this out and put it in a different book with bigger discs, and I will put July through December in here and finish out the year. At the end of the year, then I combine them again with the bigger discs and I set them aside. So yeah, that's the goal here. If I remember, I will link the other video that I made about this, either in the cards or in the description box below. So I think today I'm just going to put together 2 facing pages, so a full spread for the coming week. And generally, I mean, I only have just a little over a week at this point, about a week and a half. So usually I would probably only make 1 more page, just because that's probably about how much I'll need. However, I'm on the right side of a page right now, so when I open it, we're going to have 2. So I'm going to create 2 just to finish out the month. So my goal will be to fill in those 2 pages, and then on the back of that, before I move into the next month, usually if I have a blank page there, I will do a pocket of some sort or something along those lines where I don't necessarily have to write a lot. We may get into that 3rd page depending on how long this takes me. I think today though I'm just going to turn on some music and put these pages together, and you guys can just kind of sit and do it with me. So yeah, that's today's goal, and let's get started. I think this part of the process is my favorite, just kind of figuring out what theme I want to go with, to be able to give both pages a similar feeling, if not kind of a cohesive blending of both. So it's fun to flip through and try to find things that I think will go together well. I do always try to remember to check the back side of each page just to make sure that there's nothing on the other side that's even better than the front page, but I also try not to overthink it too much. This Somerset journaling magazine is, I believe, intended to be an inspiration to create your own collage pieces and your own little, artworks, but I enjoy just tearing out the pages and using what's in there. It's quicker, the process of putting together journaling pages is the creative part for me. So having to create the art first and then also putting it in the journal is it's too much. And so, yeah, I just enjoy pulling out pieces that I like and that I think will work. And that's just my process. Sometimes I pull out pieces that I think will work. Essentially, my goal is just to pull out several pieces and then see if they fit together. And if they don't, then I just set them aside. I have a small envelope that I put extra pieces that I can use for another time aside. When I'm cutting out these small detailed pictures, I try not to get too fussy about how I'm cutting it out. I know it's called fussy cutting for a reason, but I like to leave a little bit of a border. It makes the process go faster, and I just prefer the way it looks. And here I'm just taking a quick tea break. When I'm making these collage pieces for my journal, I try not to pull out too many magazines and scraps at the same time, because I wind up getting overwhelmed and it's hard to make a decision on what I want the layout to look like. So choosing just one, sometimes two magazines is best. I pulled out 3, which was too many. As you'll see, I do wind up changing this layout just a little bit. Here I'm taking another sweet tea break, trying to decide what I want this to look like, because I feel like it's taking up too much of the page. So I'm going back to the magazine, which I probably shouldn't have done, but I did find something else that I thought I could use. Right about this point, my cat Trouble woke up from his nap, so he wanted to come say hello and get a little cuddle. is where I begin questioning the entire layout, and I'm not quite sure that I have enough writing space. So I'm kind of flipping through a few things, rearranging and changing my mind, as you'll see. As I've said before, I like to have little pieces on some of my pages that I can add a spell to or a recipe, and that will be the intention for this index card. Here I'm trying to decide what I want on the back of the card. The green is just a little too green, so I've gone back to the magazines to find something to add to it. Here I've realized that I don't want it to have a clean cut edge, so I'm just going to tear. I did cut real close on the bottom, so it's going to be a little bit cut off, but that's okay. I just wanted that rough edge for a different look. I rearranged the flowers on this card several times, trying to find just the right composition and layout so that each of them can be highlighted in the best way and that none of my favorite parts are covered up. Here I'm thinking that green spot on the top of the card needs to be covered, and there's a tiny piece of text left over from those flowers that fit there just perfectly. Here I'm pulling out my cutting mat so that I can glue on it to avoid getting glue on paper parts that I don't want glued, and so that I don't get it on my tarot mat. The cutting mat also serves as a paper holder so that when I'm moving all over the place gluing pieces, I'm not accidentally picking up the wrong pieces or brushing things off my desk unintentionally. When I'm gluing down collage, I like to try and keep the pieces as they are while I glue down the bottom layers and work my way up so that it keeps the composition that I had decided on. As I go to glue my last piece, I realize I put that flower too far to the right, and I didn't want the center of it to be covered. I like to have 2 pairs of scissors on hand, one for using to cut things with glue or tape on it, and then the other pair is for more fussy cutting. Here in just a moment, I will realize that I glued the entire thing down when what I wanted to do was leave the top open so I could slide that index card in. So pull out my tweezers and carefully peel that back up so that I can only glue the 3 sides and leave the top open. Thankfully, it was only down for a few seconds, but it was still a little bit of a hassle to get up. Here I've just taken the other index card to make sure that the flowers don't stick to the paper. Forgot to get the paper punch, so I ran to get that to punch through the pieces of paper that I've glued down so that it will fit again in my planner. It's at this point that I decide I want to bring in the last page of June and the first couple pages of July so that in the coming days I can pre-plan a little bit of July, especially getting my journal prompts on that month view. Alright, at this point I've decided to go ahead and make the last page for June. I really wanted it to be blue to match July's divider. forth a couple times because I really liked that quote with the blue dress, and I also really liked this picture. Here I've decided to go back to that quote and tear it out to use. I really liked what it said. It says, "Her dress is not a cover. She's wearing her vulnerability with 2 words stitched inside her pocket. Her story." You'll see here momentary regret as I realized I cut out a picture that I really liked from the back. And here we are changing our minds again about cutting. I decided to tear it out so it looked a little rougher around the edges. I'm trying to decide how best to put the quote in the pocket because I don't like it plain by itself, and both of these are too green. I really wanted to lean blue. So I found a scrap that I had, did some more tearing, and I'll do a little more gluing. I also wanted to make sure there wasn't too much green showing on that card because I wanted to stick with the blue. And it's here that I realize that the tear is in the perfect spot because I can just cut it off once it's on the index card. Here is the aftermath of a journaling spread session. So thank you guys so much for sitting here with me, and I will catch up with you guys next week. Bye!